Welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we like to talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. My name is Michael. I'm a chaser, and today I am a super accomplished work boy. I had a long weekend of filmmaking and short filming. I was on set, and I'm feeling really, really good about that. Masks included. Everybody had masks. I just want to make that clear.
Mm-hmm. And socially distanced on top of that.
Indeed, yes. But I'm jazzed. I'm pumped. I'm ready for a work week of sitting in front of my desk now.
Yay!
Desk.
My name's Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living in Hollywood, and I too am a happy work boy. I have lots of stuff like bubbling around now. It's a good thing. I'm happy to have things on my plate again.
Bubbling on your plate.
I'm Dan Oliverio. I'm an author, public speaker, and chubby chaser, and a lovely, relaxing weekend in cooler than previous temperatures, and now I have a massive work week ahead, and I'm not looking forward to that. I'd like to stay in the weekend. Thank you very much.
Yes. Weekend.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and I haven't really looked at what I have to do. It's kind of this abstract, like, word cloud of a to-do list that I haven't put into a form to deal with yet. So
don't do it.
Good luck, future Trevor.
Sure
I just love the idea of a to-do list in the form of a word cloud.
You have to decipher which order things go in.
I got stuff to do, man. Stuff
is the biggest word in that word cloud.
Yeah.
Well, how's everybody doing on this really slow, sleepy Monday morning?
Not too bad.
The thing where, maybe it'll happen by Wednesday. The thing we've been waiting for to happen hasn't happened yet. You all in the future know what we're talking about. Yeah,
you guys know the answer to this. I actually don't know what you're talking about,
I have
Trevor.
no
what are
idea
you talking
about?
I think it has to do with the fact that the president has scheduled himself for a rally or public event every single night until election night.
Work hard.
Thoughts and prayers.
So let's get to our first story, unless there's anything else that we haven't tackled yet in the world of personal.
I think it's important to get to it because people are dying to know
who won.
Was the fattest bear for Bear Week.
God, I was up nights thinking about that.
Mr. Fat Bear America.
It was
so who won? Don't keep us in suspense.
Yeah, the Bear 747, which I had commented on them having, like, some of them just having numbers. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get the joke until the headline, wide-bodied 747 crowned Alaska's fattest bear.
Yeah, exactly. I am particularly in love with the part of the article that says, we thought he was fat enough in July to hibernate, but he just kept eating and getting fatter and fatter.
They fat-shaming a bear getting ready for hibernation?
That's not fat shaming, that's porn.
They're celebrating.
And quote, he was fat enough to hibernate in July, and yet continuing to eat until his belly seemed to drag across the ground by late September.
As I said.
I got to say, it's worth going to see the picture of that bear because that's just a handsome bear.
I love that his face isn't in the picture at all. It's just like him, like slightly from behind, where you just see belly and ass.
It's just a big bear butt.
You know, Michael. Sometimes the less you see, the more you see.
That's true. So when we did our show about taking your profile picture for online dating, take some notes from 747.
This is a winner.
I posted a picture just like this one, and I got no responses.
So next up, we have a thing.
It's a trailer.
It's a thing.
It's a movie trailer.
I think we're all a little unclear as to what to really make of it.
It's a Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah,
because that's still a thing, apparently.
Mel Gibson.
Called Fat Man.
Called Fat Man, which I thought was like, the way the trailer starts, like, okay, let's just set this up now. It's about Santa.
The trailer is delivered as though it's the spy in retirement that they're going to for help with a very special problem.
Right.
And then it opens up to some little boy getting coal for Christmas and taking a hit out on Santa Claus, who turns out to be Mel Gibson. the spy that's being recruited.
See,
Yes.
thank you so much, Don. That really frames it for me because I couldn't get any of this. Like, why is this even why are these things in the same movie?
Well, the description of the film is to save his declining business, Santa Claus is forced into a partnership with the military, but a devious 12-year-old hires a hitman to kill the jolly elf after getting a lump of coal in his stocking. Like, yep, that's the trailer, but it still doesn't make sense.
It still doesn't make, like, how do the military and the rich kid with a coal in his stocking?
I think it's weird that they cast, well, one, I think it's weird that they cast Mel Gibson.
He probably engineered the whole thing. I can't
Is
imagine.
he
just
in
got
a
there.
fat suit?
Must be it. But,
Did they even try
but
to make
then
him fat?
he's playing Santa, but he's not fat. There's no fat suit.
Nope.
He's
the fat man
barely
in-
got a belly.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
fat in the sense that he no longer has abs like he did when he was 20. Yeah.
And he has
but
a,
they're
like,
still
shaggy-
referring to him as the fat man. And I think there are a couple things there where people are calling him fat. And
Yeah. It's
he's
just silly.
not. I don't
I-
understand. I'm very confused by it.
I think the casting was probably the best and worst decision they made. It's like casting Nicolas Cage to play Santa. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, I'd watch
you're not
that.
really even like. By the way, I would watch that movie. I wouldn't watch
So-
Mel Gibson in anything really.
My recommendation is if Christmas is rolling around and you're looking for a good, fun, family-friendly, quality movie about a hit being taken out on Santa Claus, I recommend Hogfather. It is a 2-part miniseries from a couple years back, from the mind of Terry Pratchett. It was well executed, really good, and actually has some thought behind the eyes on it. And it has a fat Santa. So there you go.
Next up, we have exciting news in the world of Julie Murphy.
That's the young
Did we
adult
talk
author
about-
who wrote Dumplin'.
Yes,
Dumplin' and Puddin'
and
the
others.
forthcoming Pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this is, it's called If the Shoe Fits. And the description is, after just graduating with a degree in shoe design and trying to get her feet on the ground, Cindy is working for her stepmother, who happens to be the executive producer of America's favorite reality show, Before Midnight. When a spot on the show needs filling ASAP, Cindy volunteers, hoping it might help jumpstart her career in fashion, or at least give her something to do while her peers land jobs in the world of high fashion. Turns out being the only plus-size woman on a reality dating competition makes a splash, and soon Cindy becomes a body positivity icon for women everywhere. What she doesn't expect, that she may just find inspiration and love in the process. Ultimately, Cindy learns that if the shoe doesn't fit, maybe it's time to design your own.
And she could, right?
'Cause she's a shoe
designer.
That's the whole, yeah.
And it's a reimagining of, it's like retellings of Disney stories,
Fairy tales.
fairy tales for adults.
Cool.
But it looks cool, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll put a link to the article on our site.
Yes.
So what is this other article you posted? I took a look at that.
Yeah, so a listener sent this in. It's pretty straightforward, but it was just a nice sort of affirmation of, I guess like self-confidence. It's an article in Instinct magazine written by Ryan Shea, basically just saying, the title of the article is "I'm 34, still fat, still single, and still doing absolutely fine." I don't know that there are any like major revelations in it, but it was just nice to see somebody talking about the idea that I can be all of these things. And by the way, I'm fucking fine. Like, you don't need to tell me that I'm not, based on these things that everyone else seems to think are bad things.
Yeah, I really liked the fact that he's like, yeah, I'm fat and I really don't want to lose weight. Kind of not into that. And yeah, the gym opened next door to me, and all these guys with abs are sweating there, and I don't really feel a strong pull to go. He's like, because I'm fine, because I'm doing okay.
So, and it's short, so if you just want a little pick me up during the day, take 2 minutes and give it a look.
But I know when most of us want a little pick me up during the day, what do? We go to Lizzo Watch 2020. I am the transition king. King.
It's Lizzo
Takes
Watch.
away,
It's always Lizzo Watch here.
More and more over the years.
So someone mentioned this to me last week. A listener shared this. But also Lizzo pointed out that last Tuesday, I believe, October 6th, was Plus Size Appreciation Day, which I'm normally not a fan of. Like, it's National Roller Skate Day. There's so many national whatever days, but to have a National Plus Size Appreciation Day is a wonderful discovery. But she made a post and said, oh, it's National Plus Size Appreciation Day. I'm going to say it like this. Shout out to my size 18 plus beauties out there. We're getting our visibility, and finally brands are beginning to catch up to how fly we've always been. We are fashion, we are sex symbols, we are it. There's a long road to inclusivity, and we won't stop until we're there. Till then, shake your belly, love handles and jiggly thighs, love your double chin, and wear them bikinis because you a bad bitch.
Yeah.
So happy belated Plus Size Appreciation Day to all of our listeners out there, and start making your plans for next Plus Size Appreciation Day.
And go out
even
there
though we
and-
don't know what the world's going to look like then.
And appreciate a plus size person, whether it's yourself or somebody you know.
Yes.
And if you don't have anyone to appreciate, you can appreciate me.
Yes.
Keep those cards and letters coming.
Send a self-addressed envelope to Big Fat Gay Podcast, PO Box.
Wait, does that whole joke about being so fat that you have your own zip code apply to our mailbox?
Yes,
I hope so.
Yay!
along with Smokey the Bear, and Netflix released a trailer for My Next Guest Needs No Introduction with David Letterman, which is a show on Netflix. The third season is coming out, and it's going to feature Lizzo.
Yay.
Which she's featured pretty heavily in the trailer, and I'm looking forward to it. I haven't watched the show, but the trailer, it looks like a really great show. I don't know if any
It does.
of you have.
It looks like he gets some really interesting interviews, not just with Lizzo. I mean, it's very much in that vein of getting coffee with comedians, like sitting down and talking to somebody one-on-one and having a more intimate look at their life and actually going out and doing something with them. They had Robert Downey Jr. on. Dave Chappelle, but yeah, it was really cool to see her. Like, you can see her just like kind of taking control of like the vibe. Like, she has him like doing his own, like, I think he was supposed to be freestyling, like in her little recording studio,
getting him to record a song. She's teaching him how to play the flute, discussing fat shaming.
So yeah, check that out. When does it come out, Trevor? Do you know?
October 21st
on Netflix.
Yes.
Great. And last up, last little Lizzo moment.
No, there's actually two. There's
two.
There's one that I saw.
Is there an extra? Do we get an extra snack?
Yeah, an extra little bit. So there was just an amazing picture that she shared on Instagram where basically she's naked, except her hair is kind of covering her butt crack, or what's the space between the cheeks called? The crack?
The crack.
Yeah, that's the crack.
The crack goes all the way down.
Yeah, the crack goes all the way down, Trevor, if everything's in order.
I mean, unless you're talking about...
Otherwise, it could be painful.
But the caption is, BBW, the B stands for breakfast.
Yes.
So the real question is which B, or is it both?
Does that mean the beautiful woman is breakfast? I don't...
The extra B stands for BYOBB.
So what is this other one?
What's
this
the
last
other one?
one? Is you can actually click on the link in the little Zoom chat, but it's she has a pasty stuck on her nipple.
It looks painful.
No.
Yes, and she's talking about like, I can't get it off. It's been on for 2 days, and she's trying to get it off. And she's like, what do I do? I've tried putting oil on it. No. I think I've never had anything on my nipple, but I have had there was one time I had an EKG and they accidentally left on one of the little sticky things that was on my chest hair. And just like I don't know if my advice would be like, just rip it off.
Oh no.
Oh, not with the nipple. Not with the nipple. If it was skin, just regular skin, maybe, but oof.
Yeah, if you just rip it off, the nipple might be one of the things that goes with it.
Ouch.
Those things can be very enthusiastic.
I hear children hang on those things for months.
But yeah, I feel like because like they're meant for babies to latch onto them and like bite them and gum them and stuff, they're durable.
And not just babies.
I don't know. Have you ever been with that guy that just latches on, won't let go, and then for like 2 days later, you're like, how do I have a bruise on my...
Are you kidding? I get requests to be that guy. It's ridiculous. I'm like, are you sure? Are you really sure? Oh, yeah.
In high school, I was dating this guy, and he was so aggressive with my nipples that like I feel like I maybe have permanent nerve damage or something because I was like sore for weeks afterwards.
Oh,
And it was like, no, this isn't like, no, stop. And he's like, okay, I'll keep going because
that's
that
what
must
stop
mean it
means.
feels
Stop
good.
means go. Yay.
Because the brake is an alternative accelerator.
Yeah, but I guess take care of your nipples is the takeaway from this.
Yes,
We need to do a whole segment about nipple health.
And maybe
I
we'll
think we
find
should.
out if
nipple watch.
next week if Lizzo got the pasty off.
we'll keep you posted,
Or at least
on this
update you on the
breaking
sauce.
news story.
As a fundraiser, we're going to be auctioning off that pasty.
She should.
Hands across
And half a nipple.
America.
All right.
well.
Well, we do, contrary to popular belief, we do have a main subject for today.
Yes.
We do.
Fuck.
So we wanted to kind of do a little bit more of a free-form discussion. We've been talking a lot about body positivity and I guess some of the different terms that it means, but I think that there's more there. Like, what does it mean if you have body image issues? Can you still accept yourself while having issues with your body? And how do you talk to other people about it? How do you encourage other people to accept how they look if you don't necessarily feel the same way? I think there's just a lot of interesting discussions there, and we share 4 very different perspectives. So
Yes.
let's open the floor. I guess the first question would be, can you be fat positive and have issues with your own body?
I think so, in the sense that, it's what you're striving for. And whenever you have a commitment like that, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't. And I think I remember way back when I was doing a seminar, one of my seminars in Berlin, and there was a woman from England, and she actually introduced me to this topic, asking the question, can you be a fat activist if you're not okay being fat? Which is much like finer point to put on this.
Right.
And the answer is like, I don't know. I think it depends what you mean and what you do, but it's definitely something that I think everybody goes through.
Yeah.
I mean, I know something. This is kind of what prompted this idea. I'm very comfortable being fat, but I do still have, like any person, like weird things about my body that I fixate on.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is my butt.
Which is ridiculous. It's beautiful.
But okay, no, but because there's this thing where I always get messages from guys like, oh, you must have like an amazing huge ass. And like my butt, like it's fine. Like look,
the correct answer to that question is yes, thank you.
No, but so just going through, okay, so I have a big butt, but like not proportionately like big to my body. Like it is larger than the average ass, but like not compared to the rest of my body.
Well, I mean, obviously I have a contrary opinion, and I'm your husband, so I'm a little biased at that too. But I guess my question would be, is this actually a source of concern or insecurity, or how does it express yourself?
I mean, not really. It's kind of insecurity because it's like I feel like I'm going to disappoint people because they're building up my butt in their head. It's like, oh my God, like it's like I don't know what they're imagining.
You're expecting that they're walking into your home while looking for the Lizzo balloon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just this weird thing where I get so self-conscious about it because it's like,
I mean,
it's
I can
being built
get
up.
that because so many chasers are so sort of focused.
I was going to say
fixated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they basically objectify one part of your body and build it up, and then build it up to you in conversation. Like that's standard operating procedure for a lot of chasers that I've spoken to. And that can definitely make you nervous because like I can't possibly live up to your fantasy because it's a fantasy.
But you know what I found though, when guys do that to me in terms of like musculature or body parts, is even though I think, oh God, they're putting a lot more emphasis on that than I certainly do, and I hope I don't disappoint them. They bring the fantasy with them. They see exactly what they want to see, and they do think your butt is that big, and they will celebrate it. Like it's seldom the case that you lose that game. I find, although I mean I'm not the three of you, but What I'm saying is, I think if you just shut up about it, they will be delighted and they will think their fantasy is true.
Oh, I never say anything, to be blunt. It's like, oh, you can build up as much as you want. When you show up, if you're not happy, that's on you.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're almost universally delighted because they brought the fantasy with them anyway. And
right, I got you.
Yeah,
yeah. I am a chaser. That has been made clear over the last 37 episodes.
Oh my God.
Guys,
so brave.
Surprise. And yeah, like having like, I don't know, I guess fixated is the word Don would use on different aspects of a guy that I find attractive. Like, I wouldn't do that unless I felt like I understood what it looked like. Like, if you if you don't have any pictures of your butt, I'm not going to talk about your butt because I've never seen it. But if I feel like I have and I'm attracted to it, I'm like, that's an ass right there. Like, yeah, that's there you go. Like, I'm done.
I get what you're saying. I don't feel like that's a common pattern though. Like, I don't have any butt pictures of myself on any of my profile stuff. Like, I just don't. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the first things that guys ask me about on that sort of app. On the more datey oriented apps, I think people swing a little bit more towards what you're talking about. But yeah, so I've talked about it before. Like, I have body issues. I've been blunt about that. But I think, like everyone, you swing on a spectrum. Like, there are days I feel good and I don't need any sort of outside reinforcement. And there are days where I need to be told I'm a little pretty, Yeah.
And I think it even goes hour by hour. There's sometimes when,
sure,
you feel good. I mean, you feel good about yourself at 11 o'clock in the morning and you don't feel so good at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's how you perceive your body. It's so much about perception and not about reality.
I think I think the problem, certainly that I struggle with, and probably that a lot of people do, and I think also what Trevor was describing, is that it's impossible to be your own like pillar. Like, you can't just be your own pillar, living in a vacuum, keeping yourself built up and immune to all outside influence. And so when other people start bringing their stuff and putting it on you, whether it's this unrealistic expectation of how you should look or how you could look, mm-hmm. and they're putting that on you, and you start getting concerned, like, am I going to disappoint this person? Or they start picking on things that you don't like about yourself in a negative way, like, oh, you're too fat, whatever, which is a little more obvious. You start having to manage all of these outside influences on you when maybe 2 hours ago you were feeling great about yourself because you were just living in your own day. And so it's this idea that you can't just be your own like independent titan moving through the world, completely immune to what other people are going to say or do to you. However, that's the struggle, right? Like, that would be the goal. Like, to be able to just be totally self-sustaining. And I think when people try and hold themselves to that standard, like that's supposed to be normal somehow, the disappointment of sometimes being down on yourself makes it even worse. It sort of like takes you even lower. And then you start going like, oh, why can't I just be happy with who I am? Why can't I just be satisfied? Like, I was fine last week and now I feel like shit. And I don't know how to keep myself stable. When I think the better answer is like, you can accept that there's going to be an ebb and a flow, mm-hmm. and like try not to be so hard on yourself.
Just to reinforce what you just said, I think that's 100% true. Not only is there an ebb and flow, but it's okay that there's an ebb and flow. I don't need to spend more time beating myself up because I'm beating myself up. It's
right.
just sort of this fun little loop we can get ourselves on. It's the hamster wheel, the wheel of self-hate.
Well, and
that's a t-shirt right there.
Something that I also point out to coaching clients is that the stuff that comes up, the negative stuff that comes up from the outside world, whether it be someone telling you this or some message in advertising, it's not just a random occurrence of negativity. See, negativity lands on us all the time, but we don't pay attention to all of it. Like, if someone says, geez, Michael, you're so effeminate, I really can't handle that. Have you ever thought of toning that down? Like, you don't have an issue with that. So it kind of rolls off your back. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
But if I say something or you encounter something that actually you do believe in your head is a problem, then that's going to trigger an avalanche. And
right.
the thing is that there's a lot of stuff out there that we just don't take in at all because it doesn't match our perception of ourselves.
Yeah, or if it's something that you don't necessarily believe, but you've been told it so frequently that it triggers all of the past experiences that have happened up to that point.
Well, and what that means is you fear it might be true.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah, or it's just something that has been put on you so frequently that it's become your identity by virtue of the fact that it's pervasive.
That's I think the very common story. Where like you can try and carry as much self-esteem as you want, but when you exist under the Chinese water torture of you are worth less because you weigh more, it sinks in eventually. It's just like there are going to be cracks in your defenses and it seeps through.
Sure.
And but that's okay to own that, recognize that, and then eventually try and move past it. That's the
absolutely. But there's a reason that some people are affected by that so much more than other people.
Well, I think also just
because I actually am fat, and when people say
no, I'm saying there are fat people who let it roll off their back because it doesn't like it's like that. They don't see it as a judgment. They see it as a societal problem, as opposed to like, oh my God, maybe I am that. And they take it inside, and that creates a whole different resonance.
Right, but I think according to the discussion we're having, even those people most likely have those low moments, and that's okay. That's what
Everybody
we're getting
does.
at. Yeah, everybody has them. That's
about anything. About anything.
Yeah. You know, I don't like the idea of building up these mythical figures that are immune to the drop, which I just want to make sure we're not saying, you know?
No. I don't think anyone's immune to stuff like this at all.
No. And I think right now, just where we are in the world, we consume so much there's so much input, so much stuff pouring into our brains that we are seeing other people and seeing ourselves and comparing ourselves more than like any other point in time. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a point where people didn't like see themselves in the mirror. It's like, oh, you weren't getting just constant input and comparison.
Right.
So I think maybe I talked before in a previous episode about this app Reface, where it is a deepfake app where basically the point is like, oh, it's a fun, silly thing. Like deepfakes are like it's chill. It's not a scary thing. And you can put the app will put your face on different GIFs. And and when I was doing that, I just got in this weird thing of like, I have never really had any kind of issue with my nose, but like I started to like seeing my nose on another face, if that makes sense. I was like, my nose is so big. It's like, no, but that's just because that's not my face. And like, it's the whole like, my brain is doing so many different things right now. Yeah. That's like, it's not my face. It's uncanny valley. It is like weird digital stuff happening. But it was just like, I kind of was like, oh my God, like it's just so, my nose looks huge on Lillian Warren's face.
Leslie Ann Warren is 2 inches wide. Any nose looks weird on her.
But yeah, that's kind of my point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like our brains weren't meant to have to process things like that.
Right. Yeah.
And we weren't meant to see, like, go into the Explore tab on Instagram and see, be scrolling through 200 people in the span of like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and evaluating, yes, no, maybe, yes, no,
and
maybe.
even just subconsciously, like, being like, oh, here's what 200 butts look like.
Well, what do you think of this then? Do you there's so many, all the modeling out there, and I'm thinking particularly of like, fitness models, but it could be any model. I mean, we could name names, but we don't have to. Do you think it's had an unfair or deleterious effect on dating, on interactions with people? Do you think that's a big problem? Do you think it's an incidental problem?
I would say it's a big problem. And I think as we see kind of the commercialization and co-opting of body positivity, I mean, I'm not trying to be shady, but like, I know there are plus size models that Photoshop themselves, and it is this weird thing to see people being held up as pillars of body positivity who are excessively Photoshopping their pictures. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of conflicted feelings about that. And one thing, it's like, it's representation, but at the same time, it's the same thing that we've been fighting for all these years, and it's like it's the same exact thing. It's just
There's a really tough.
It doesn't benefit like the larger people who airbrush themselves. That representation doesn't necessarily benefit larger people so much as it can benefit more body normal people who are looking to exhale and actually be able to eat a sandwich. It doesn't help us, but it helps them.
Do you think there's anything to be said for, hey, if all the thin, pretty people can Photoshop, why can't we?
So it's, I think it's a tricky issue because I some of the work that I've done over the years is photoshopping magazine covers or it's sometimes just magazine art within, and I feel like there is a balance that can be struck, but it's not an easy black and white answer of either do you airbrush or do you not. I think there is basically a photograph is something that should not exist in real life. Like we are not used as a society, as people, we are not used to being able to look at a single snapshot of a person's face and pick apart every little detail, especially with as high resolution as photos are. That is a way of looking at a person that invites criticism because you can lock it in time and just pick it apart
and scrutinize.
And scrutinize. So the balance to that is try and make that person look like the best version of themselves. And the danger is when you start making, you start using effects and Photoshop to make somebody look like an ideal or something that is actually not them at all. Like once you start faking an alternate person that looks plastic and perfect, that I think is where you get into this uncanny valley of unrealistic expectations. But when I've been asked to do Photoshop work, for instance, on many famous actors, but some of them have, like, you can probably just imagine, like Dan said, we don't have to name names, but many of them have like sort of are famously like craggy faces, or like have a mole here or a mole there or whatever, or even ones that aren't as noticeable. Like all of that stuff must stay and must be represented. But there are other things like, oh, this person's, skin is blotchy in this area because they had acne. Well, I think it's fair not necessarily to get rid of the acne, but to just make it less noticeable so that people's eyes aren't drawn specifically to it.
See, now I really want to find a picture of Edward James Olmos airbrushed so that his famously craggy face is just baby smooth. I want to know what that would look like.
It would look awful. It wouldn't look like him. That's the problem.
And what I was talking about, I'm not talking about like airbrushing, skin smoothing. Like, I have taken zits out of my own picture because I'm like, I want to take a picture of myself. I have a zit today. I'm not going to have it in, like a week. I don't want to remember, the day I had a giant zit.
Right.
I'm talking about, we are seeing, the unobtainable body that is not, this body cannot exist in reality.
Like real distortion photoshopping, like changing, like you said, like making a person not a real person
Let
anymore.
me put it this way. If in the 1960s, when we started seeing black models showing up, if they had airbrushed those black models to become lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter so that they no longer represented the race, that it was a big deal they were representing, that would be an issue. So if we're talking about the same thing with fat people being represented for the first time in these same publications in the same way, and we're photoshopping them so they no longer represent the minority that we're excitedly extolling the virtues that they're now being included, that I would say that is an issue.
Well, we see that already in plus size and in body positivity of, we've moved the needle a little bit. Well, like, okay, you could be chubby and on a magazine cover and you could be kind of fat and be on a magazine cover, but for Christ's sake, you're not that fat. I mean, boom.
Right.
Like there's a beyond the pale still. And I think that also maybe happens in skin tone. I think that maybe happens in culture, ethnicity.
When we're doing that, it's like when we first started having black models. I don't know this for a fact, but I'd be willing to bet a lot of them are very light skinned.
To wrap that back into our subject, so what does it do to a person who sees, like Trevor said, the Instagrammer with that photoshopped sort of unrealistic body? What does that do to a person who has their own body image issues, wants to be fat positive and maybe even a fat activist, but sees something that makes them feel like they don't actually fit in with that world because they don't look as quote unquote like perfectly sculpted or perfectly rounded as they do.
Well, I think it goes back to what Don said is, you may feel like you have the right to step into that conversation, but maybe it triggers a bunch of insecurities that maybe holds you back, or you feel like, well, I'm not going to enter that fray.
I feel like I have a different context with that in that
Okay.
all my life I've had other models of bodies that I should look like, that I'm supposed to look like, put in front of me. And at one point I tried very hard and it didn't work. Right. So when I see this photoshopped plus size model, I'm not thinking like, oh, maybe I could approach. I'm actually just looking at it and going like, oh, it's another body I can't achieve. And I'm dismissing it the same way I do a mainstream thing. It's because I've seen it, been there, done it. It's not working. So moving on.
So it's not just that it doesn't represent you. It's that you get the message that you should be doing that or being that.
Yeah. That's like, oh, this is what a fat person should look like. Like, oh, well, fuck you then.
Yeah. Something else that I've kind of seen popping up somewhat recently. So kind of moving on from Photoshop and actual physical alterations. Can you be, I don't want to say body positive because it's like, no, like bad, body positive, bad. Can you, I'll say body positive in the like body positive classic.
Do you mean like pro? Do you mean
yes.
pro fat?
Pro fat, but even just like pro, like it's okay to look like whatever. Can you represent that? Can you rally for that and have plastic surgery? And I think, we're all in LA. I feel like the whole plastic surgery conversation is so different in LA.
It really is.
That's true. It is true.
I think when I really understood for people who don't live in LA, when I understood that plastic surgery occupied just a different social niche in LA, was when I realized that people who got really obvious plastic surgery were not embarrassed or hiding it. It's like, yes, this is the plastic I choose to represent.
Yeah.
It was almost seen as, I don't know if I want to say an upgrade, but they weren't trying to make it look natural, or at least it didn't bother them that it wasn't.
I think that's more what it is. I don't think that they wore so I lived in Malibu for 6 months, the first 6 months I moved out here. And there's a certain look that I started calling the Malibu housewife look, where it's just a very clearly manufactured face, right?
It's like belt sanded and enormous lips.
I don't think that it's specifically a badge of pride, but what I do think is that it's just normalized. Right?
Yeah, it's normalized. That's exactly right.
It's just what some people look like after they do this thing.
And I assume it's considered better than what they looked like before by them.
By them, most likely. I
themselves.
always question if their spouses feel the same way. But
I'd be curious to talk to those people.
yeah. But like I can't condemn someone for trying to change something about themselves to make them feel good. If that's what you need, that's what you need. And I'll stand behind you. Partially because I've seen the cat lady and I'm afraid to stand in front of her. If you know who I'm talking about,
yes,
cat lady. Look up cat lady plastic surgery online. It's terrifying.
Yeah, we'll stand well to the side of her.
God bless her. She looks what she wants to look like. Good for you. But I'm going to.
Well, that's what I think. That's what I really hope you do. Like, given the difference between where you started and where you ended up, I really hope you're happy with that.
Yeah. There you go. I think body self-image is always in flux. We've already established that. So I don't think I don't think you can be fat positive because I'm always feeling good about my body. And if that's not the case, then yes, you can have body issues and still be fat positive because that's what you're striving towards,
So expanding on now, this is like, I feel like the one of the most controversial questions is, can you have weight loss surgery and be fat positive?
Right.
And there's been several very prominent figures in kind of the fat activism adjacent world who have had weight loss surgery. And usually it is something where it's like, it's done, they lose a drastic amount of weight, and then they have revealed it later.
Let me just reverse the question a little bit and rephrase it a little bit in that it's, can you be fat positive and have weight loss surgery, as opposed to can you have weight loss surgery and be fat positive? Because you have an entire lifetime after your weight loss surgery. You're gonna your opinions are gonna change. You're gonna keep growing as a person. So yes, absolutely. I could have a leg removed and then become 2-leg positive. I mean, I've got 40 more years on me. I can change my mind to whatever I want. The question is, in the moment, yes, being fat positive, can you then have plastic
Yes.
surgery?
Can you? Yeah. And I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the answer is yes, but it heavily depends on how you do it. And I think that what Trevor is alluding to is influencers who kind of keep it secret,
Right.
then they lose weight over time. And so all of the people who follow them notice that they're getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and they sort of start adopting a new version of their influencer lifestyle that isn't necessarily about being fat. And then all of their followers who invested in them because they were a fat icon then start subconsciously feeling like, oh, should I be losing weight too?
Well, it begs the question. I get that we're talking about influencers. I get that we may be talking about fat activists or body positivity icons, but do they have the responsibility to explain their choice? Is that something that the public is entitled to?
I would say absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's an extremely personal decision, and to demand that.
Well, but it seems to be
They're an
demanded. is my
influencer.
point.
Yeah, I understand that, and I agree with you. It is demanded, but you can demand whatever you want. I don't owe you anything. You know, it's like that's what it comes down to.
Even if they're in the public eye for this issue.
I would say if your reasons are altruistic for being in the public eye, then a responsible person will be forthcoming about it so that everybody can go through the process with them. That's beneficial to everybody involved. I would say hiding it is bad for you because it implies that you're ashamed of it. It's bad for the public because it's robbing them of an opportunity to understand a new experience. But you do not owe anything to your fan base that way. Like owing is not a thing. That is not the case. But I would say if you do care, you should be forthcoming. You know, that's my 2 cents.
I guess that was Trevor's question was, the implication is, can you be these two things and still be, a good person? Like, can you be these two things and still be the person that you're purporting to be to all the people that follow you? Like, if you've gotten success in life, if you are getting things in life that keep you going, that make you famous because you are using people's adulation for you or their respect for you, I would say if you don't want to be a trash person, you owe them. I would say you do owe them. That is the pact that you make with the people that follow you. They are building you up, and they are following your journey, and you're inspiring them because I'm fat positive or body positive or whatever, and I want you to love yourself. But then I go and get weight loss surgery. Am I going to be honest about that? Am I going to say, you don't need to get weight loss surgery, but I've chosen to, and I'm actually, I think you can be happy with yourself either way. In my case, this is my journey. I think there is a way to do that elegantly. We talked about it earlier in the show about somebody who, in her case, she had to get weight loss surgery in order to get another surgery to help or to treat cancer. And she was very transparent about the entire experience. Yeah. And I think that is one way to do it successfully in a way that keeps everybody on the same page about feeling good about themselves. Yeah. But then, as Trevor's implying, like, there are other people who do it secretly. And I think that is damaging to the people that follow them, who have entrusted them, or who have been entrusted to take care of the people that follow them.
I think one of the things that comes up, and the reason that these influencers may announce it after the fact, is I think there's a very real concern, a justified concern, that if they go through it with their fans, it kind of signals to the fans that the fans get a vote. Like, I'm thinking of doing this. Like, if you started from the beginning, like, I'm thinking of doing this, I'm probably going to do this. I'm set up for surgery. It kind of opens the door to opinion, which if you just get it done and announce it afterwards, done. You can.
But that is, again, that's what I'm saying. That's the social contract you make when you are then, if you're going to be an Instagram personality who gets to advertise to people and take money and say, I'm gonna. These are the products that I'm getting paid to advertise to because I have fans. Yeah, I'm saying you do. That is then your job. You are then making a living doing this based on the fact that you have people who follow you. You are now you now have the trust of those people in your hand, and how you handle it is important.
I get your point. I think I concede a little bit on the financial aspect of it. Yeah, if they're being paid for it and their fans are paying them based on that physical aspect.
That's the only reason people do it. That's
However,
the only reason people try to become
then there are
Instagram
reasons
famous.
to get weight loss surgery that have nothing to do with weight that can still be very personal. We talked last week or 2 weeks ago about the woman who desperately wanted to have a child, was told she couldn't due to her weight, and so she had the gastric bypass surgery. That's really fucking personal. That's diabetes treatment. Gastric bypass is used for that. That's really freaking personal. So it's a complicated subject. It's a really complicated subject. So
sure, but I think
don't
what
think
you're
we're going to
talking
solve it
about
today.
is
Is all I'm saying.
We're
Right, I
not
think what
leaving
you're-
this room until we solve all of the world's problems.
These 4 rooms. These 4 rooms.
Yes. I'm at the Zoom room.
we're staying on this Zoom call forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think the danger, no matter what side of the experience you're on, is putting too much weight and trust about how you handle your own happiness and happiness with how you look in other people, whether it's following an influencer or listening to somebody who says that you look like trash. Like, putting too much weight on other people, that's gonna run you off the road one way or the other.
I will say this. I think there's a bottom line to being an exponent of any sort of activism. Very often, one of the reasons that one becomes an activist is because it's deeply personal, and deeply personal things tend to be attached to deeply personal issues. And it's not that anybody is going to be issue free, and it's absurd to think that, well, I can't be an activist because I'm not issue free yet about this issue. That's never going to happen. You'd sit in the corner forever. But I think there is something that I've seen where people that have not acknowledged they have an issue in an area or are not dealing with it, and then that becomes a detriment to their activism. That becomes a detriment to, be it body positivity or whatever they're after. It's this sort of unexamined nature that can be an Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Introspection. All right, we solved it. Good job.
Yeah.
Yay, we get to leave.
Okay, check.
Yes.
I'm seeing a tip here that actually looks very interesting to me.
Yes. So I woke up this morning to a message from Dan about this, and then like my Instagram feed blowing up. So there is a Kickstarter for a new line of plus size jeans called Fat Trunk Jeans.
And it's brand new Kickstarter, by the
yes,
way. So if
new
you're listening
today.
to this live, check it out.
So basically these are big and tall jeans. It's size 38 to 60. And they made the pattern based off of a pair of size 54 jeans. And they are
Off
jeans
of to be
designed.
clear, size 54 model. Yeah, like a person
model.
who is
Yes,
34, 54 waist.
Basically, they are jeans designed for fat people. It's a blend of cotton, polyester, and spandex. And right now, there's just like one. It's a dark indigo and 33 inseam. But they hope that after they launch, they'll be able to have more inseams. They'll have more colors, patterns. And
inseam is my inseam.
So it's the perfect
Prize
fit.
winner.
Perfect. I can only find 32 and 34. I can never find 33. That's amazing.
And
I just like that, like, the best jeans I've had have been these kind of weird, hybrid, where there's some stretch to them.
like material blends.
Yeah. And they're called the fat trunk jeans because they're trying to combat, what do they call it? The whole issue where, like, the legs are too big because they're like, oh, well, it's a fat person, so they have giant legs. So it's a, like, tapered fit, and it has stretch so that like it fits your legs nicely, like a pair of pants should.
Maybe this is the answer to a question that Dr. Joy Cox asked. And she's a luminary of the fatosphere. And she asked the question on her Facebook page recently. And I just thought it was wonderful. She said, what would clothes look like if there were no thin people and clothes were only designed for fat people? Like, there was no other body to design for.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
there were only fat bodies out there, and you had to design what would clothes look like, or what would be different. And I thought that was a marvelous question. And who knows? Maybe this is an answer.
Maybe it is.
I'd like to think there'd be a lot more caftans because I would love to wear caftans. They look
Yes.
so comfortable.
Caftans.
They look so comfy.
Where are our listeners who are, you know,
I
they have
gotta
the
say-
needles in their mouth. They're working at the sewing machine like, I'm a coming. Hang on.
They're down there at the cafetaneria selling stuff.
Yes.
I got to say, I love the idea of these jeans because it's all my life. It's just been very clear that the jeans or the pants I'm wearing were not designed for a larger person. They were just expanded off of a smaller model, which always leaves them sitting very strangely on my body, especially in different positions. You know, I love the idea of pants that understand my body. That gets me very excited. I don't know if it's $100 worth of excited, which is the price point for these pants.
Well, so
Well,
it's
look at
$100 for a pair of jeans and a mask.
This
No,
is
but it's a Kickstarter. It's a Kickstarter. That's not
Kickstarter,
the
like-
price of
Yes.
clothes.
Yes.
That's,
Exactly.
the
and
point
shipping,
of
blah,
a
blah, blah.
Kickstarter.
Like, I'd
is
like to support them, but
support, right?
I want to get
If
something
you-
back for my support.
about
What you
jeans?
do, you get whatever you pledge for. You're not Kickstarter is not shopping. Everybody take this
Exactly.
down. Kickstarter is not shopping. Kickstarter is supporting a company or a group of or person that you believe in, and then getting something back for that support. So when you see this, and it's actually $115 for the actual jeans, the $100 is for a discount on your purchase. If you see $115 for a pair of jeans, like obviously that's not the point. The point is you want to support these people and get their business launched.
Yes.
And then everyone can buy the jeans for whatever they're actually worth.
And I would also say that, you know, as fat people, we're used to having limited options and either paying like a small amount for a terrible piece of clothing or a large amount for a less terrible piece of clothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I would gladly, you know, I know straight size people that pay, you know, $115, let's say, for a very nice fitting pair of jeans. That is not unusual.
Do they have different sizes for straight people?
I don't know. It's just-
Wow.
I imagine
creepy.
everyone else is the same size.
All right. We do have a bit today.
Yes.
Do we?
Yay.
Are you ready?
I am.
We
so
are
ready.
reviving our old friend. We've done this once before of fat rulers throughout history.
Yay.
Yay.
History.
I tried to find perky upbeat ones and I failed. So here you go.
Oh, goody.
Just the tyrants and dowagers.
Yeah.
All right. And forgive me for the pronunciation on some of these names. This is a very multicultural one, and I have no idea how some of these are supposed to be pronounced.
No, shan't.
Aite, the Queen of Punt, was a trading partner of the Egyptian Queen Hatshepsut in 1500 BC. It may be hard to tell if people were thin or fat nearly 3,500 years ago, but why are they fairly sure the Queen of Punt was a fat ruler? 1. They found several unusual items in her tomb, including a sponge on a golden rod, apparently used to wash difficult-to-reach places,
Oh my.
and a solid gold ceremonial belt that was at first mistaken to be a hula hoop. 2. There are pictures of Aite on Hatshepsut's tomb, where Aite is depicted as grossly obese, pictured standing next to a tiny little husband and a tiny little donkey. Under the donkey is the inscription, "This donkey had to carry the queen."
Oh dear.
3. There are records from the period that the queen's weight was used as a weight measurement. A shipment of grain was described as weighing 5 queens, which suggests her weight was likely around 400 pounds. Or 4, when they found her sarcophagus, they expected it to hold the queen and several servants, a theory supported by the size of the box. But it was just her.
I want to go with option 3 that
Yeah.
that her weight was a standardized
A standard of measurement?
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
also going with 3.
Standard of measurement? Michael, do you dare buck the trend?
The pressure. I won't. I'll go with the fourth one.
The size of the
sarcophagus?
The size of the tomb.
Yeah, the size of the,
Well, good for you. And because the correct answer is in fact neither of those. The correct answer is
bastard.
item 2. There are pictures of her on Hatshepsut's tomb
No.
where
Oh
she
my
is
God.
depicted as grossly obese. However, this is a quick follow-up to this one. More recently, the Queen of Punt syndrome clinically has been discovered.
Okay.
It's believed she wasn't actually fat, but she suffered from a genetic disorder that is described as having a rugged face, gluteal femoral obesity, hyperlordosis, and asymmetrical deposits of fat on the trunk, limbs, and thighs. All right. Question 2. According to the Bible, Eglon was an extremely fat king of Moab in modern Jordan, who united several tribes of highland and desert raiders to conquer the central Israelite tribes sometime in the 12th century BC. An Israelite named Ehud gained the king's confidence, got him in a room alone, and killed him. How was his assassin punished? 1. He was forced to eat figs until he ruptured himself.
Oh, dear.
Whoa.
2. Still alive, he was used as a cushion in the king's sarcophagus when he was buried. 3. The king's final, very large meal was inserted inside of the assassin, and the orifice through which it was inserted was sealed shut.
Ooh.
The orifice was not the mouth. Or 4. The assassin was never punished. The servants thought the king was having an extremely long, powerful bowel movement, and his death wasn't discovered until after his assassin had escaped and rallied a fucking army.
A whole army just to fuck? Wow.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna say the fig one because that sounds like one of
my
those
God.
like horrible.
Forced to eat
deaths.
figs until he ruptured himself.
Yes.
Force figged?
Okay.
Wow.
Force figged. Fig you, man.
Oh, they're all such terrible options. Sorry, Don, but
I'll have you know I wrote 3 of these.
I know. And what a wonderful job you've done matching it to the authentic answer. Oh, jeez.
I
Michael?
think that he got away. I think he got
Number
away.
4, the assassin
Yeah.
was never punished.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan?
I for some reason, I want to go with that. Maybe just because it's, I don't know, the least awful.
And the correct answer is the assassin was never punished.
Yay.
I got one.
Apparently, if you want all the gory details, according to the story, the assassin's dagger got trapped inside of his victim because of the fat. And then as he was trying to leave, it apparently ruptured his large intestine. So there was a certain smell of bathroom activities that hung in the air. And the servants just never went in because apparently that was just normal for epically long and smelly poops. Moving on. Question 3. George IV has the dubious distinction of being the fattest king in English history. According to legend, what was his favorite breakfast? 1. About a quarter barrel of Irish whiskey.
Oh.
2. 2 roast pigeons, 3 beefsteaks, a bottle of white wine, a glass of champagne, 2 glasses of port, and 1 of brandy. 3.
Noticing a trend?
Sticky toffee pudding sandwiched between thick slices of Madeira cake.
Oh, my.
Or 4. Water and several slices of raw cucumber and a large bowl of steamed cabbage.
Most of these sound like normal quarantine breakfasts.
They certainly are, Trevor. That's what I keep telling you. They certainly are.
Which reminds me, I keep running out of port.
I want to go with the second option.
Yeah.
With just the champagne and
Second,
the various breakfast items.
Not
Yes.
me. I'm going with the cabbage.
You're going with the cabbage?
Yep.
All right.
I'm going with Michael. On the-
Okay. And the correct answer is, in fact, 2 roast pigeons, 3 beefsteaks, a
goodness.
bottle of white wine,
Yay.
a glass of champagne,
I'm
2
on a
glasses of
roll.
port, and 1 brandy.
So I was so close.
I got 2.
Michael, if you get a third one, the world officially ends.
No, gets better. The COVID is cured.
All right. Question 4. When Pope John the 23rd overheard a woman exclaim, "Oh my God, he's so fat," as he passed by, what was his response to her? I should point out that he was from the 1960s, in case that's important. It's a very recent one.
Okay.
1, he said, "Madam, I trust you understand the papal conclave is not exactly a beauty contest." 2, he did nothing, but did lift his vestment and slapped his large belly at her. 3, he invited her to dinner, a move that was celebrated by Catholics as an example of how one should turn the other cheek. Or 4, He threw handfuls of holy water at her, soaking her in front of her friends.
with a super soaker. I'm going to go for the belly slap.
Belly slap?
Yep.
Is that because you believe it or because it's wishful?
I'm sorry. Is there a difference? No, I can just see that it had. I mean, you're passing by. It's got to be something quick, but you want to acknowledge it. And yeah, I can understand that.
Okay.
I'm going with the first one, the witticism.
Madam, I trust you understand the papal conclave is not exactly a beauty contest. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Trevor.
I'm going to go with he splashed her with holy water because I've seen a lot of priests with super soakers full of holy water for like socially distant baptisms. So I just like the idea of him like dumping a bucket of holy water on her.
I actually saw a news story about a priest that was giving communion.
Oh my God.
At a distance that way. They were basically chucking the wafers and shooting wine at people as they went by. The correct answer is, in fact, Madam, I trust you understand that the conclave is not exactly a beauty contest.
Oh no, the world's
COVID
ending.
is
Michael got
cured.
him all right.
Michael. Okay, Michael. So that's 4 for 4? Is that right?
Here he is.
Okay.
No, we all got the first one.
Let's see if Michael can pull off the clean sweep with a 5 for 5.
Oh my goodness.
Are we ready? Okay.
Yes.
Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, claimed after his first physical on the job that he was 6'3" and weighed 243 pounds. These claims seem to be false, as he was visibly shorter and fatter than was claimed, as well as evidence provided by his driver's license where he was listed as shorter, and comparisons to other celebrities with the same stats that were clearly thinner and more athletic than him. People who called his official weight a lie started calling themselves, 1, the 450s, a reference to him being the 45th president and a closer approximation of his weight. 2, the Freight Watchers, due to a comment made by MSN's Chris Hayes that compared Trump's pants to oversized cargo containers.
Oh dear.
3, Girthers, due to Trump being one of the loudest members of the birther movement. Or 4, Obviists, for obvious reasons.
I'm going to go with Girthers.
I'm pretty sure it's Girthers because that rings a bell.
Okay, we got 2 for Girthers.
I'm going to cave to the pressure and also go with Girthers.
Wow, we have a unanimous consensus for number 3, Girthers.
Are we even right?
And the correct answer is, all right, everybody, Michael's cured COVID. 5 for 5, Girthers.
Yay! You're welcome, everyone.
Thank you for spending another hour
job.
with the Big Fat Gay Podcast.
Yeah.
Yay.
We're another fun slice and dice for Michael here.
Yeah. If you listen to this episode and it's only 37 minutes long, you'll know that I did my job.
Well, it's
All right,
that
Trevor.
time for me to tell you about where you can follow us and see all the lovely things we talked about.
Dude,
We're on Twitter and Instagram as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there and at Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. See the lovely materials we referenced at www.bigfatgaypod.com.
Hey,
And that's it.
you did it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Maybe you are one of the fat bears that didn't win Fattest Bear Week, and you're glad to spend some time with us, but you're kind of dreading the rest of the week. And then there's a knock at your little bear door because you're not sealed up in your cave for winter yet. And it's Michael.
747.
And he's here to help you take some new selfies for all the apps. And I guess this week it's Michael who should
Look out.
convoluted, but he got there.
I've got my Mary Kay Bear makeup kit ready for you.
Very cute.